According to the Midwest Dairy Association, there are about 49,000 dairy farms in the United States. About 97% of U.S. dairy farms are family-owned and operated. On those family-owned and operated farms, there are approximately 9.23 million dairy cows, with the average herd size being 187 cows. The biggest benefit of Apollo was the inspiration it gave to a growing generation to get into science and aerospace. Buzz Aldrin. Ceramics, sketching and drawing, Legos, repurposed crafts, duct tape crafts, scrapbook pages, sculptures, painting, and fiber arts. I'm not picky. I love them all. Dictionary.com defines fashion as a prevailing custom or style of dress, etiquette, or socializing. To me, 4-H Fashion Review isn't just about shopping. It's about manners and presence. How many photographs have you taken in the past year? I remember my dad spending hours in the workshop when I was younger. I would sit with him and hand him the tools he needed to complete whatever piece of furniture or other wooden widget he was working on. Christmas was always exciting to see what my dad would put in our stocking that we knew came from the scraps of wood left over from a project. The many hours my father spent with his craft influenced my hobbies, and the woodworking project provides me time to relax, think, and be creative. I love the Rabbit Project. It's not everything about the Rabbit Project, but more the different types of rabbits that fascinate me. I enjoy learning about the different qualities that each rabbit breed possesses, and then breeding rabbits to create the perfect rabbit. What I really think is amazing about the Rabbit Project is genetics. Okay, so my point is, start your personal story with a catchy introduction. I've read through a few Kansas Award portfolios, and the 4-H stories that start with a catchy introduction are ones I look forward to reading all the way through to the pictures. A catchy introduction captivates me and leads me into reading the rest of your story. And stories without a catchy introduction, I've caught myself skimming through. Use statistics, a quote, a list, a definition, a question, a story, or just beat around the bush till you narrow it down. Whatever you do, wait to identify yourself with your first and last name, number of years in 4-H, 4-H club, and number of years in the project until after you get the attention of the reader. Then summarize what's in your portfolio. In this story, you only have to talk about the project that you are reflecting on. There are a few ways you can summarize your 4-H story. You can follow the structure of the portfolio. You can tell your story chronologically. You can tell your story based on the impact your project had, or you can use the umbrella approach. I'm going to go through each one separately. When following the structure of the portfolio, first, use section 1 and talk about your goals, why these goals were important to you, and what past experiences led up to those goals. Then, based on section 2, talk about the learning experiences, why you chose those learning experiences, what you learned, and how they helped you accomplish your goals. Then use section 3 and talk about the citizenship and leadership you developed and used in the project area. Then go on to section 4 and talk about how your 4-H activity, awards, and recognition impacted your family, how this project impacted your community, and how this project changed and or impacted you. And remember to talk about how 4-H impacts your future. Even if your future is vague and you can just know you're going to be something great, attribute that something great to the skills you learned through 4-H. And identify what skills you learned in 4-H that impact your future. If you choose to follow a chronological order, you're going to create that chronological order based on when you set your goals in the fall to when you wrote your KAP throughout and summarizing at the end during August or September. So the story should first talk about when and how you set your goals and why those goals were important to you. Then, in chronological order, talk about the learning experiences, citizenship experiences, and leadership experiences as you lived them. Be sure to identify the different activities you explain as either a learning experience, citizenship, or leadership. If I'm a judge and I'm reading through your portfolio, I may not know the difference. So don't leave it up to me. Tell me specifically what each activity is. Talk about how those activities met or didn't meet your goal, and talk about what you could do to make it better next time. Then in your story, talk about the impact 4-H has on your family, community, and personal identity. Use specific examples from the last year to illustrate the impact. And remember to talk about how 4-H impacts your future. A major goal of reflection is using what you learned to make the best better. If you choose to write your story based on impact, start with the part of your project that had the largest impact on you, your family, and your community. Be sure to say whether that impact was a learning experience, citizenship, or leadership. Now, that largest impact may not have happened at the beginning of your project. It may not have happened after you set your goals. It may have been towards the end or halfway. So talk about how that large impact affected the goals you had. The goals you had accomplished or hadn't accomplished yet. Maybe there would have been things you would have changed based on that impact that you see was a defining moment in your year of this project. And then fit all the learning experiences, citizenship, and leadership into a relationship with what really impacted your project, that defining moment. And then describe how that largest impact within your project impacted your family, your community, and you. And remember to describe how 4-H influences your future goals. And the last approach I'm going to talk about is the umbrella approach. And this is an approach where you had a big picture notion that you were going for. So were you trying to teach environmentally friendly habits? Or were you advocating for inclusion? Whatever big picture approach you may have been going for, if you had one, this is the way to write your 4-H story for your KAP. And then you describe how all the different pieces to your project fit into that big picture approach that you were taking. Again, making sure that you tell whether or not those different pieces are learning experiences, citizenship, or leadership as you tie them back to the big picture. Include your family, community, and yourself under that umbrella and how they fit into the big picture. How does this big picture and your actions affect them? And remember to include how 4-H impacts your future. And in this approach, even describe how that big picture impacts your future. These are just a few approaches to writing your personal story. You may have your own style, and that's fine. Just be sure that whatever style you choose, you take time to think about what you're writing about. Think about it all year long. I know I'm asking a lot, but I'm telling you, it's important to be reflecting, to be processing, to be summarizing your project. I'm aware that there are influences in the world that are telling you to zone out, watch TV, play a video game, but I'm saying, do now what others don't so you can have later what others won't. Think about your project. Other tips for writing the 4-H story include the following. Use the score sheet to determine the content of your 4-H story. And understand that different content of your story earns different amounts of points because those are the different areas that are important to be reflected on. So take some time and think about the knowledge you gained, the leadership experiences, and what that means. Use the language from the score sheet. If it's a learning experience, say that. A leadership experience, say that. Don't let your reader guess who you are and what you got. Be specific, which means you may have to take some time and really think about the last year. Type your story in a normal font, not something fancy, and between 10 to 12 point font. Double space on one side and write 6 pages or less of information. Spell check and grammar check. Just look for the colored squiggly lines in the document and figure out what's wrong and correct it. Have someone edit your paper. If you're in it to win it, edit your paper, and some suggestions may be style suggestions and you might ignore them, but some suggestions may be wise suggestions. It's good to learn the difference. And last, write through your heart. And if you can't write a reflection story that has heart, then next year, pick a project to set goals for that you've got heart for. Because your heart will provide direction towards your purpose, and your purpose will motivate you towards your fullest potential. And that right there, you discovering your fullest potential, is really why I want every 4-H'er in the River Valley Extension District and beyond to complete a Kansas Award portfolio. Please feel free to email me or call the office to clarify anything you may have a question about or to receive help in any way. Good luck on your Kansas Award portfolio.